Emace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Derek Mason will be along during the second hour. We are live at Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators will go for their 6th consecutive win tonight against the New Jersey Devils. Puck drop at 7. Pregame at 6 with Max Hers, who's making a commotion over there right here on 102.5 The Game.
He's upset because the Pirates had a bad first inning.
I noticed a pep in your step.
O'Neill Cruz misplayed 2 balls in the same inning, and Paul Skeens was out before the inning was over. So you got to forgive Max. He's a little bit on edge.
And right who now. Do the Pirates happen to be playing on opening day?
The Metropolitans in New York, of course.
I've noticed a pep in your step as you walked into Barrel
Well,
House
today.
This
is game 1 of 162, so it's okay.
But it's opening day. You have to be romantic. Day was fun. You have to be romantic about
I did.
baseball.
I saw the pomp and circumstance. Howie Rose, amazing radio voice for the Mets, introduced the starting lineups as he does every home opener, and so that was cool. That got my goosebumps going a little bit. And so it's been so fun. It's great. We got opening day. We got the Sweet 16 going on. There's officially a saturation. There's so many great sporting things going on right now with the NCAA tournament, opening day of baseball.
Playoff races in the NHL.
Playoff races in the NHL. Huge game tonight. And there's so many things going on. Vanderbilt hosts Tennessee, one of the best rivalries in college baseball going, and Vanderbilt hosts Tennessee this week. They're not going to get the top billing. It's a bummer. It doesn't get the showcase that it should. Those 2 teams should be playing later in the season, by the way.
One texter, before I've even talked about what we're going to talk about today, one texter says, Adam, let's try a moratorium on using the word rebuild today in relation to the Predators, maybe the rest of the season. I can't promise you the rest of the season, but I'm not planning on talking about that aspect of the Predators today. We will talk about the Nashville Predators, again, going for their 6th win in a row tonight. Puck drop at 7 against the New Jersey Devils here on 102.5 The Game. But let's start on opening day. Although today is officially opening day, baseball started last night with the New York Yankees defeating Tony Vitello's San Francisco Giants 7-0 in Vitello's MLB debut. I admittedly, Willie, did not watch the Netflix broadcast, but I saw a lot of people complaining about it because that's what sports fans love to do about new broadcasts. They love to nitpick the broadcast. It's always about the score bug. Can you believe the score bug? What an ugly score bug. I've never been so obsessed with broadcasts to care about the score bug, but people care about the score bug. Did you watch the Netflix broadcast last night?
I did.
And your review?
Yeah, they tried to do some different things to set themselves apart. Some were better than others, I thought. I love the game. I like just a good broadcast. They've got some new guys in there like CC Sabathia and very inexperienced. It's like, you're going to put your featured broadcast in there. You're going to throw guys on the broadcast that have never done a game before. That's always a little bit risky. Hopefully those guys will get better. But, they had Jameis Winston on hand, for example, who was a great player. He was a great baseball player at Florida State as well as quarterback. He could have been a first-round draft pick had he chosen baseball. So he knows something about baseball, but he was there just to kind of be the entertaining guy trying to find things going on in the ballpark. Like the Giants are famous for older gentlemen who they called bald dudes, who they put baseball helmets on, and they, when the balls hit foul down the line, those guys try to make the play. And so Jameis Winston did a little bit of that. He sat in the stands. They had a guy out in a kayak. They brought in Barry Bonds, which was interesting. The commish was on. So Netflix is in the game. And NBC today has got a national telecast of a midday game. I'm impressed with that. And it's the Mets Pirates. So baseball has a new broadcast deal. We'll see how it works. And they have the new challenge system, Adam.
I was going to say, last night we saw the first ever use of the automated ball strike challenge system in a Major League Baseball regular season game. It was unsuccessful, by the way.
Yes, they were 0 for 1 to start the season. The Mets were successful on their first one this year. Freddie Peralta, the former Brewer, he got the nod on his. And, Adam, we saw that last year. The last couple of years they've been using it for the Sounds. But in the game that you and I attended that You had the great performance on the field between innings.
Great is not the adjective I would use
No?
to describe my performance. But remember, I decided that I needed to retroactively be awarded the catches I did not make because of my eye condition, which makes it hard for me to see when it's bright.
Excuses.
That was just. I feel like we need to do that again. We need another chance. Like, you need to practice.
Yes.
Adjust the lenses or something. We'll go out there. D Mace and I will throw some T-shirts up in the air.
Okay.
Maybe on a windy day to make the conditions tougher. And I think we need a redo. I want you back at the Sounds game to make the catch. I think the crowd would just appreciate the effort.
Yes. Everybody loves a comeback story. By the way, the Sounds open up next week, I believe, at First Horizon Park. Always a good time.
This is what it's about.
This is unequivocally the best time of the sports year. You laid it out, Willie. The NCAA men's basketball tournament, the women's tournament, playoff races in the NHL, the start of Major League Baseball, the Masters is around the corner, the NBA playoff race as well, if you're an NBA fan. This is the best time of the sports calendar. So very excited about all of that. By the way, the NCAA men's basketball tournament continues tonight with 4 Sweet 16 games. Looking forward to those. Those games, by the way, are Texas versus Purdue, Iowa versus Nebraska, the third time those two teams will meet this season, Arkansas versus Arizona, and in my opinion, the main event, Illinois versus Houston in Houston. That should be a fabulous game. But the story, Willie, that rocked the college basketball world this morning. Who would have guessed that Will Wade would have gone back on his word? He bails on NC State after one season to go back to LSU. And I would describe the courtship of Will Wade as clumsy. I believe word leaked out that he was coming back before the actual coach had been fired. And people are trying to wrap their heads around the fact that Will Wade, Kim Mulkey, and Lane Kiffin are all coaching at the same institution.
Not dull. Not dull. It is going to be entertainment from start to finish. Will Wade, Franklin Road Academy, always seems to give you twists and turns on his journey, whatever that is. But, wow.
There has been a fun contest, I guess you could say, on social media trying to name this Trinity.
Trinity.
The best one I saw, I can't
it's not
share
worthy
on
of
the
air. Okay.
But it's a take on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh.
Use your imagination.
Okay.
Change your letter, perhaps, in one of those words.
Okay.
That is my favorite one. But it's a contest that's ongoing on social media. Name the coaching triumvirate of Will Wade, Kim Mulkey, and Lane Kiffin. But it's funny to think about how Will Wade was exiled from LSU because he was the subject of an FBI investigation, right? He disappears for a year. He shows back up at McNeese. McNeese has some success. He bolts for Raleigh at NC State. And then at the first opportunity, he leaves NC State at the altar and rushes right back to his first love, LSU.
So that's 3 schools in 3 years, right? I guess they figured at LSU, look, he cheated. He got, he was red-handed, caught on tape. Back then, it was cheating. Now, we don't have to worry about that anymore. You can just go ahead and, do whatever he was doing. You don't have to be secretive about it. So what's the problem?
My favorite tweet about this was about NC State athletic director Boo Corrigan. Quote, "I know the number of times we had conversations about the job, including one time of, do we need to talk about this? The answer was no," end quote. Corrigan said he had multiple confirmations from Wade that he wasn't interested in LSU, including after the NCAA tournament. And I do remember Will Wade being asked about the LSU rumors during the ACC tournament. And he's like, "Oh, that job's open? I didn't know." BS, Will Wade. You knew it was coming open. So it's not going to be dull in Baton Rouge with Will Wade, Kim Mulkey, and Lane Kiffin. I don't know if there's enough oxygen to go around.
We'll have to find out.
I have absolutely no idea. One texter says, personally, I enjoyed Netflix's broadcast and presentation last night. Josh says, I'm just mad because my bunny ears don't catch Netflix. Maybe I need better ones. But we've talked about this. We've talked about how much money it costs
to watch all the games.
Watch all the games between Netflix, Peacock, ESPN Plus, or Hulu, or if you FanDuel Sports Network, it
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. It costs.
It's all
Apple,
spread out there.
Does
Apple TV? Yeah, they've got the whole MLS, right?
That's right. Apple TV had baseball though too, right?
They did.
Not anymore.
I lost track. Maybe they have a game. There was one. Who baseball had one on another, like Roku or something? Didn't they have a game on there?
I've lost count, just as you have. So
they had one on. They've had some on YouTube, I think.
Yes. Which Sweet 16 matchup intrigues you most this evening? You won't be watching because you'll be calling the Predators game.
No, that's a bummer.
But which one intrigues you most?
I would say the St. John's. Rick Pitino is fascinating.
That's tomorrow.
Oh, that's not tonight. Okay,
that's tomorrow. But that counts.
Well, then you got to go with the Houston. Houston getting to play in Houston, I think, is a big topic of discussion. I know that they're trying to block it out, right, for Illinois, but that's a tough call. Illinois, I think, is a really good team.
This is the irresistible force meeting the immovable object, right?
Yeah.
Illinois, one of the most efficient offensive teams in the country, versus Houston, which has one of the best defenses in the country. So
yes.
that is an intriguing matchup on paper. Arizona versus
Arkansas. Whoever wins that game is going to be a pretty significant favorite in the regional final because of the upsets in the other part of the bracket with Florida going down. And then, what you were going to lead to the other.
Arizona versus Arkansas.
Arkansas has number 1 seed talent. There's no two ways about it. So they can match the talent for Arizona. I am fascinated with it. What's the line on that game, by the way?
Arizona is favored by 8.5.
By 8.5?
Yes.
See, now Charles Barkley's been saying for months that this is the Arizona Invitational. They're better than everybody. And no matter what we're talking about, Michigan, Duke, the other 1 seeds, he says Arizona's the best of all of them. This will be a good test because I feel like Arkansas will be right in this game. I like Arkansas and the points on that, but Arkansas has to play smart. That's their biggest thing. But man, I think they can stand toe to toe with Arizona. We'll see. Only time will tell.
I don't usually love conference opponents meeting in the NCAA tournament. I know it's inevitable, but Iowa versus Nebraska, that is a storied rivalry, a corn-fed rivalry, perhaps. And those two,
for all those years, they weren't in the same league, even though you figured they would have been.
I guess that's true.
Because Iowa has always been in the Big Ten, and Nebraska didn't used to be in the Big Ten. They were for a long time, it was called the Big 8, right? And then it became the Big 12. And then they famously defected. They kind of started the whole change of all of the leagues because they were fed up with Texas. This is I don't know how many years ago it is now, but I remember everybody losing their mind when Nebraska left the Big 12 to go to the Big 10. And that just started a chain of events that hasn't stopped really since then. What year was that?
When Nebraska defected from the Big 10?
When Nebraska defected from the Big 10. 2010? That sounds right.
Nebraska approved by the Big 10 in 2010. In 2010. So long, Big 12. Nebraska's membership in the Big 10 Conference is official. June 11th, 2010.
Okay.
So that will be interesting. As you mentioned, the games tomorrow are all fabulous as well. St. John's versus Duke, Alabama versus Michigan, Michigan State versus UConn, and Tennessee versus Iowa State. And we will get more into those matchups today and tomorrow. 615-737-1025. Any thoughts on Major League Baseball opening day? If you have a family-friendly nickname for the coaching group of Will Wade, Lane Kiffin, and Kim Mulkey, you can share it as well at 615-737-1025. Elliotte Friedman, Sportsnet NHL Insider, will join us at 5 o'clock. And Willie, I'm excited about this one. Vanderbilt AD Candice Storey will join the program at around 5:30. Looking forward to talking to Candice Storey. The women's team still alive in the tournament. The men had a great season. Football had a great season. There's a lot to like about Vanderbilt athletics right now, and Candice Storey will join the program at around 5:30 to discuss it all. We also have an opportunity for you to win a pair of tickets to see the Nashville Predators take on the Montreal Canadiens this Saturday night here at Bridgestone Arena. And I've got an idea on how to give those tickets away. And I will unveil it coming up next as we look ahead to tonight's matchup between the Predators and the New Jersey Devils. There is something I am keeping my eye on, I know Willie is too, about the remainder of the regular season in regards to the Predators. And we will discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Swing by T-Line at 106 Duluth Avenue in Nashville this Saturday for their annual crawfish boil starting at 2 p.m. $30 buckets with a complimentary drink, indoor and outdoor seating, plus curling cold drinks. Also a great place to catch the basketball games that evening. 1025 The Game will be on site from 3 to 5 with great giveaways and prizes. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, remember, Loan Pronto wants you to get this message. Stop letting high interest debt weigh you down. Pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto and the rapid equity loan we keep telling you about. It's a completely hassle-free way to cash out your home equity with no appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. Very streamlined process. And this rapid equity loan program uses AI-driven tech to get you approved for cash out in as little as 1 day with a rate that's a 3-year low. So call Loan Pronto and see how much you can save right now. You can nail that credit card bill, get it down to zero by this time next week. Think about that. Loan Pronto is A-plus rated by the BBB with nearly 2,800 five-star Google reviews. So call 615-499-5780 and find out more about the Rapid Equity Loan Program. Or just go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Tee it up with us at the 5th Annual 615 Open, May 28th at Hermitage Golf Course. We are once again supporting Folds of Honor to help them fund life-changing scholarships for families of America's fallen heroes. Register now to play or sponsor at 615open.com. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. Derek Mason will be along shortly. The Nashville Predators are going for their 6th win in a row tonight against the New Jersey Devils. Puck drop at 7, pregame at 6, right here on 102.5 The Game. The Devils are out of the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference, 11 points back of the final playoff spot, but New Jersey has won 7 of 10. So the Devils are playing well as they arrive in Nashville for their only visit of the season. And Willie, we talked a little bit about this on Preds Insiders last night, but one thing you and I are keeping our eyes on down the stretch of the regular season is how the Predators choose to deploy their goaltenders. It appears that Justus Annunen will start tonight for the Predators against the Devils. Annunen was spectacular late last week when Saros was out with an injury, won 2 games against the Kraken and Golden Knights, made 64 saves on 66 shots. That's a .970 save percentage. And one thing that is important for the Predators, if they make the playoffs, is to have the best version of UC Saros. We know that UC Saros has been, for the past several years, the most started goaltender in the NHL. He has 53 starts this season, second most in the league. You also have to add in the fact that Saros started 6 games for Finland in the Olympics. So he did not get a break in February. He started 6 big games for Finland in the Olympics on top of his 53 starts so far for the Predators. And if the Predators make the playoffs, we know that barring injury, UC Saros is going to be starting every game for the team. There are 11 games left in the season, 2 sets of back-to-backs, but Annunen gets the call tonight. How would you deploy Saros and Annunen down the stretch so that you get the best version of Saros when the playoffs start if the Predators make it?
I think you keep reading the trends of how Annunen is playing. If he continues to play the way he's playing, I think you have to keep him going in there. It's only a plus because I think it's going to help UC Saros. I think it'll make UC Saros' starts even better. And this is a big one for that reason, because in the old system, or the system they've had for a while, this would clearly, not take a whole lot of thought. It would be Saros in this game, and then you would split the back-to-back. But Annunen played very well in New Jersey earlier this season, a tough overtime loss, but Annunen kept them in the game, had a strong start there. And as you noted, his last couple of starts here have been tremendous, probably his best hockey that he's ever played, the 2 biggest wins he's ever had since he's joined the Predators. And if you look at how he's played here at Bridgestone Arena, he's been particularly good here his last 5-6 times out.
The Predators have been buoyed by their goaltending during this stretch of 7 wins in 10 games. We talked about this yesterday on the program, but to reiterate it, the Predators' goaltenders combined have saved 16.3 goals above expected, which leads the NHL since March 5th, which was the win against the Bruins the day before the trade deadline when this stretch of 7 wins in 10 games began. So Annunen and Saros deserve a lot of credit for the Predators surging into a playoff spot. Since the Olympic break, Saros has started 9 games. Annunen has started 5. He's expected to start tonight, so that would make it 6. But I wouldn't go as far as to say it should be a 50-50 split. There are 11 games, so it really can't be a 50-50 split. That's an odd number. But 7-4, maybe even 6-5.
Well, I think right now with the start tonight for Annunen, and then you figure the 2 back-to-backs, it's minimum 3,
yes.
Right? So, and I think there would probably be another one in there for Annunen in all likelihood. So I think 7-4 is about right.
I think that sounds right. And remember, the last time the Predators, Well, that's actually not true. I was going to say the last time the Predators made the playoffs, Saros was injured. No, that happened in 2022 against the Colorado Avalanche. He was healthy for the series against the Vancouver Canucks a couple of years ago. But you do want the best version of Saros if the Predators make the playoffs. And although Saros's traditional numbers, his goals against average and save percentage, aren't as sparkling as Annanen's as of late, they are still quite good. His underlying numbers have been good. He has stolen a few wins for the Predators during this run. And I know how you feel about UC Saros, Willie. You have been an ardent defender of UC Saros for a long time. I also have defended UC Saros. And I do think it would be, I think I said this during the Olympics as well, that I really hoped he would have a strong performance in the Olympics to perhaps ward off some of the people at the door with the pitchforks and torches when it comes to UC Saros. I mean, we had our friend Adam in Portland call the other day and say, I love this run. I don't love Saros. I think there are a lot of people out there who continue to doubt UC Saros. So if he can take it a little easy, so to speak, during this run, maybe not get as many starts as we are accustomed to seeing him make, that if the Predators make the playoffs, game one, I think you could get a well-rested Saros on top of his game.
I think that's what you hope for. I think if you look at UC Saros, since he started playing in the Olympics, he had a good Olympic tournament, very good. Since then, I think he's been pretty consistent. He's been solid. And he has a track record of playing his best hockey down the stretch. And I think for the Predators to make the playoffs, I think they're going to have to continue to get excellent goaltending, quality starts, a couple of steals in there. Because as we pointed out, they have had a little bit of trouble 5-on-5 with possession and winning the analytic battle. And tonight, I think, will be a really good challenge because New Jersey, I think, is better than the teams that they have been beating the last couple of times out. New Jersey is a team that should be in the playoffs. They are way, way better than their talent. But the East is very deep. New Jersey had too many stretches early in the year where they had injuries. They had issues internally that had them off track. You know, the whole drama of, are you going to bring Quinn Hughes together to play with the other two Hughes brothers, which didn't materialize, and it seemed to throw them off. But right now, they've won 8 out of 11. They are loose, and they are flying. Jack Hughes is playing fantastic. So this will be a really good test of, can they make some improvement in the 5-on-5 numbers that had everybody Debbie Downering you yesterday on the show, Adam. Yes. But also, you know, tonight they're going to need a really good performance in goal. There's no doubt in my mind. They're going to need some saves.
One texter says, if we want a chance of catching Utah, we need a minimum of 4 points in these next 3 games, in my opinion. Utah's remaining schedule is super weak. Well, these next 3 games for the Predators are tough. You just mentioned how well New Jersey is playing, despite the fact that it's out of the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference. The Montreal Canadiens on Saturday. The Canadiens are 3rd place in the Atlantic Division. They've won 6 of 10. And then you have the Tampa Bay Lightning right above the Canadiens, 93 points in the Atlantic Division. They've also won 6 of 10. They also have Nikita Kucherov playing at an unreal level. He is averaging something like 2.5 points per game since the calendar flipped to 2026. And the second half of a back-to-back on the road, that's always a tough situation.
Yeah, and an early start.
Especially against one of the best teams in the league. I just pulled up Utah's schedule because I was curious. I would not describe it as super weak.
No. I think it's about normal.
Washington, LA, Seattle, Vancouver, Edmonton, Nashville, Carolina, Calgary, Winnipeg, St. Louis.
Winnipeg and St. Louis have been playing really well right now. I don't think those 2 games are weak at all. There's different ways that you can look at a schedule and say this is tough or this is easy. And sometimes the tougher games to play are the ones against the teams that are out of it, because those teams sometimes can be very loose. And I think tonight will be an example of and just look at what the Blues are doing right now. They're tearing teams up. They play Seattle tonight. If the Blues beat Seattle, the Blues play San Jose tonight. If the Blues beat San Jose, they'll be ahead of the Sharks in the playoff race. That's pretty crazy.
That is. The playoff races in both conferences are really heating up. In the Eastern Conference, you've got 4 teams within 4 points of each other in the final wild card spots, plus the 2 directly underneath. And then we know what's happening in the West. The Predators have surged into the second wild card spot, 3 points ahead of Los Angeles, 3 points behind Utah with a game in hand on Utah.
The one thing I would have people know in the schedule is that I do think the Kings on paper have the easiest schedule. They have 3 games with Vancouver starting tonight. And so you really have to jump on the Canucks bandwagon and hope they come up with a win or 2 in there. And Vancouver's got nothing to lose. And it's not like they are sitting there going, hey, we got to make sure we keep losing to keep the number 32 spot, the biggest chance to get the number 1 pick, because they're safely in that spot, right? So they can win a few games. They've got a lot of young players. They got that whole haul for Quinn Hughes. So I'm sure they would like to see some success for those young guys. So let's hope it's against the Kings.
Al says, Willie, congratulations. The Mets are undefeated, have the league's longest winning streak, and first place in the East. Celebrate with some green Gatorade.
Will do. Mets are 1-0. Gotta like that. Carson Benj, home run on opening day. He's their prize prospect hitter. Could be pretty good. We'll see.
It's 1
Maybe
of
I should text
162, as you said. Yes.
Usually, Tehran and I like to text the emojis, the little gifs when we have a Mets victory. So I'm gonna have to do that.
If I know Tehran Davenport, he is decked head to toe in orange and blue today. A big Mets fan, just like Willie
season
Dunn.
ticket holder.
Oh, I did not know that. 615-737-1025. All right. I said I had a pair of Predators tickets to give away. Here's what we're going to do. The best question, the best comment about the Predators, call us, text us, 615-737.
The best slam dunk.
The best slam dunk on me, perhaps.
It could be on me. You can slam
or
dunk
on
on me.
Willie. You could also dunk on Willie. I would suggest you dunk on Willie. Call, text, questions, comments, 615-737-1025. We will select one at random, and that person will win a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on the Canadiens on Saturday night here at Bridgestone Arena. 615-737-1025. Call it a Predators AUA. Predators Ask Us Anything.
Yes.
With Willie and myself. 615-737-1025. Best question, best comment gets those tickets. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
Give me one.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. Max Hers has turned on the quad box of Major League Baseball opening day.
Sensory overload.
I don't know how anybody can keep up with this.
You got to focus on one. Your beloved Washington Nationals, Adam, your hometown team, is in action against the Cubbies.
On which box?
Bottom left. Bottom left.
Okay.
Turn your attention to the bottom left.
All right, there. I see it. I see it. It's
You can't even see the score.
It's too much.
They're winning, though.
It's too much. I need one game to focus on, one at a time. I like to devote my attention to one game. And remember, just old picture-in-picture when it was the little picture in the corner.
And you could flip them.
Can we go back to that?
I thought that was a good feature. 2 is good. You can watch 2.
But one needs to be bigger than the other.
You're focusing on one.
Yes.
You're following the other.
It can't
and
be
you can flip.
Split down the middle. It needs to be one dominant game and a little teeny tiny other game in the corner.
We disagree on a lot of things. We agree 100% on this. Bring back the PIP.
We need that
PIP.
We need that little teeny tiny game. The original picture-in-picture. And I feel like, I guess you are too, Willie. We're outliers here. People love the quad box.
As soon as D-Mace gets here, he will not stop talking about the quad box. He's going to be very excited about this.
But the question is, I don't know how, this is more of a statement than a question. I just don't know how people are able to keep up. I will see some people. They'll post their setups on social media. They've got the big screen TV with the quad box. They've got their laptop on with 2 games on the laptop, also
tweeting,
holding their phone.
Yeah.
It's too much.
It's a lot. It is a lot.
It's too much. All right. So here's what we're doing. If you want a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on the Canadiens on Saturday, puck drop at 6 for that one, I assume because of Hockey Night in Canada. You need to call us, text us, 615-737-1025. Questions, comments about the Predators. We will choose one of you at random to win those tickets. Let's start with this unnamed texter who says, how does the Predators' recent success play into how fans feel about the future of the team? Should we just enjoy this team's success and chemistry, or does this mean we should be even more hopeful for the future with young players and draft picks coming in the near future?
I think the plan all along, if you've paid attention to Barry Trotz, is that they are trying to transition from the core that includes Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly, that group, UC Saros. They're trying to transition from those guys to the next core. Building the next core has been a statement that Barry Trotz has used time and time again. And right now you do have a blend. And that new core is still very young. And you don't know what you're going to get collectively from that group over the next 2 or 3 years. There's some potential there, but guys go in different paths, right? A couple hopefully will really blossom. A couple probably will bust. And then there's others on the way that will join that are already in the system. Forget about all the draft picks that they have kept. That's the idea. That when you hear Barry Trotz use the plan is in pen, that's always been the pen part, right? What they do, particularly month for month, that's what he keeps calling in pencil, right? That he changed. At one point, it looked like it was going to be a full sell-off when they were last in the league. Then they're like, wait a minute, they're back in it. What do we do? Buy or sell? Well, then they sold the 4 players, put the four young guys in, and decided to roll the dice and see if you could get in there. And right now, they've got a shot to do that.
A couple of texters have asked this question. One texter says, when the Predators pass the Mammoth for Wild Card 1, how does the current team match up with the Anaheim Ducks in a playoff series? Well, we talked about this a little bit, either on the show or Preds Insiders. I can't recall, Willie. But the Ducks-Predators potential playoff series, assuming the Predators make the playoffs.
I don't know if I would say assuming.
There's a lot.
That would be a big if.
There's a lot happening. There's a lot that would need to happen for this to happen. But for the purpose of this discussion, let's say the Predators, 1, make the playoffs, 2, overtake Utah, and 3, Anaheim wins the Pacific Division. it would be an interesting matchup between two teams that missed the playoffs by a significant margin a year ago. The Ducks sort of remind me of the Sharks in a way. They're probably a little bit ahead of the Sharks.
Better goaltending.
Better goaltending for sure.
Yeah.
But in terms of where they are in their roster build.
Yeah. They've been sort of on the same timeline. They roughly started this process about the same time. 2018, 2019, right in there.
Yes. They've got a young core. I would say
uber talent.
Right. I would say led by Cutter Gauthier.
Yeah. They don't have the Celebrini, but they have some very, very good players.
Yes. And those young players are supplemented by a core of rugged playoff tested veterans, such as Chris Kreider, Jacob Trouba, John Carlson,
Alex Killorn. Yeah.
Alex Killorn, Radko Gudas. That's a tough team.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see how those two teams would match up, because the Ducks haven't made the playoffs in, I can't remember the last time the Ducks made the playoffs.
I think it was maybe 2018.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
So it would be a big deal for Anaheim and its fans to be back in the playoffs. But that series would be, I don't want to go as far as to say it would be a coin flip, but the Predators would not be massive underdogs in a theoretical playoff series against Anaheim.
Hypothetically, if there were no big injuries. Remember, sometimes what happens, guys can get hurt and change everything late in a regular season. For example, last year, the Devils, by the time they took the ice against, I forget who they're playing, I think Carolina, they just had nothing. They didn't resemble the team that had gotten there. So there's still a lot that can happen. But hypothetically, yes, that would be an interesting matchup. Now, Anaheim can make you look bad with all that talent, but they do have a lot of flaws in their roster. They do give up a lot of quality defensively. They need Lukas Dostal, if you're saying it
the fancy
way. He can elevate them, and has elevated them.
They play fire wagon hockey.
No question.
Up and down and up and down. A lot of chances going back and forth. It's exciting. It's also sort of heart attack inducing, if in a way, because for as much as the Ducks can generate offensively, they're going to give up just as much, if not more, on the other end. So that's sort of a track meet series. That would be interesting.
And I do think that would be the best matchup you could get in terms of, the wild card is probably going to be an underdog in both series. But if you could get to that spot and Anaheim hangs on, or both ifs, right? Utah is going to have something to say about holding on to that spot. I don't think they're going to collapse and just hand it to them. And I still think there's a chance that Vegas and Edmonton, who have been sputtering, perennial Western Conference contenders. We know the Oilers have represented the West the last 2 years. And I don't know if they can flip the switch. Both are having major goaltending problems. And they just can't seem to string together a bunch of wins. But one of them still, I think, could overtake the Ducks and win that division.
Big matchup tonight, Edmonton at Vegas.
Oh, yes.
Big matchup tonight. Let's go to Kip on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Kip, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, guys. Tony Screener, today is my son's birthday, and I'm on I-24 heading back to Chattanooga. I'm running late, and my gosh, tickets to the Predators would be an amazing birthday gift.
Okay, Kip, anyway, I'll keep that in mind.
Do you have a question?
Do you have a question?
Well, I'm really glad they didn't tear it down to the studs.
Thank you, Kip.
They trusted their hearts, and they're doing a good job.
Thank you for the call, Kip. We'll keep that in mind. Kip tugging at the heartstrings. Birthday present. Can't deny that. That would be a great birthday present. We'll see if Kip wins those tickets. Here is another popular question. Is it me, not me personally, the texter, is it me, or does this team kind of remind you of the 2017 team? Now, I get all up in my feelings when I hear this, because I do think that although the story on paper would be similar, right? The 8th seeded team in the Western Conference wins 3 playoff series that all start on the road and make the Stanley Cup final. If the Predators were to make the playoffs If they were to make that sort of miraculous run, it would be the same thing. But I do think you have to keep in mind what those rosters look like and the difference in expectations for that team and this team entering those seasons. In 2017, the Predators were expected to contend for the Stanley Cup. I would call them a dark horse contender.
They had won a round the year before and lost in Game 7 at San Jose on the road, and they were just out of gas. They had a series in Anaheim and a series in San Jose. They had so many trips back and forth from California to Nashville. I do think that was a factor in their just having nothing left for Game 7. They could not win a game in San Jose. They won all 3 games here. But to your point, they were coming in with expectations.
Yes.
In 2016-17. And then they had, I think, a poor first half of the year and then got it together down the stretch and looked more like a team that, at least in my mind, I think in their own mind too, when they got matched up with Chicago, I think they really felt like they could play with them. They were not intimidated by the Blackhawks at all. They thought they matched up well with them.
So the difference, a major difference between those two teams is the preseason expectation. These Predators, after what happened last season, I don't think a lot of people picked them to make the playoffs.
I don't think anybody did. You tell me, I mean, very few people, if any.
That team had the best top 4 defense in the NHL. Robin Josi, Matthias Ekholm, Ryan Ellis,
the 2017,
yes, and PK Subban.
That was the strength of the team. Pecorino in goal, and those 4
borderline Hall of
number
Fame
1 type defensemen. 4 number 1 kind of defensemen.
Yes, and as I said, a borderline Hall of Fame goaltender in net. And the team had Ryan Johansson in his prime.
But it was a fairly pedestrian, no offense to those guys. They were a solid forward group, but not anything that would wow you. Like I would say this group's forward group has more what you would call stars, right? Philip Forsberg was young back then. I think he's probably better now. He's a more consistent goal scorer now. He was certainly a game breaker back then. But you had a Victor Arvidsson. You had that first line: Forsberg, Johansson, Arvidsson, Jofa. Remember them?
Yes,
and
indeed.
But then guys like a very young Kevin Fiala who got hurt in the playoffs. I mean, he was what, 20, 21 years old at that point. You had James Neal, who was a rock solid player, but not a superstar. You had Colin Wilson and Craig Smith, steady 20-goal scorer kind of guys. So, look, they got to the Stanley Cup final, right? Some of these guys got hurt along the way, but it was not a scary group of forwards. There's no question. I would take the 2017 team over this particular team, but this is why you love the Stanley Cup playoffs, is because if a team gets it right, you get great goaltending, and you punch above your weight a little bit, crazy things can happen.
I do think, to wrap up this question, I do think that the fact that Predators team in 2017 finished in 8th, I think, for lack of a better term, warps people's remembering.
I think they underachieved to finish 8th.
Yes.
And I think they also finished 8th knowing that they were going to be in for the last couple of weeks. It's not like they had to rally and barely get in. They were in with 5 or 6 games left, and I think they tried to rest some guys. They weren't worried if they were in wild card 1 or 2. In fact, I think they were fairly okay with playing the Blackhawks in the first round.
If I recall correctly, on the final day of the regular season in 2017, the Predators were in Winnipeg.
Correct.
And if they had won in regulation, or at all, I think, they would have finished in wild card 1,
right,
and gone to
the Pacific.
Anaheim, I think.
Yes.
Blake Wheeler scored a game-winning shorthanded goal with like a minute left.
Yeah, I think they went from up 1 to down 1 in a very short period of time.
Predators lose in regulation, clinch the second wild card spot.
Yeah.
And personally, we talk about rooting for the Storey. I was happy about that because I did not want to go back and forth to California again.
And I don't, honestly, deep down, I don't think they wanted to.
Yeah.
I think they were fine because, and it didn't seem like it to the masses, but they really felt good about playing the Blackhawks for whatever reason, even though the Blackhawks had beaten them a couple times in the playoffs on their way to the Stanley Cup title. They were right.
615-737-1025. We've got a lot of comments, so we'll continue this coming up next. If you have a question or thought about the Predators, call and text 615-737-1025. The best question, or maybe random, I haven't decided which yet. I've said both. Will win a pair of tickets.
I think if you bring it strong, it's going to be taken under consideration.
Yes, I think that's an accurate way to describe it. You will win a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on Montreal on Saturday night here at Bridgestone Arena. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason isn't here yet. He'll be here soon. I'm so used to saying Willie Donick, Derek Mason. Adam Vingan, David Janes here with you. Derek Mason will be along shortly. We are live at Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators will host the New Jersey Devils tonight. Puck drop at 7, pregame at 6. Right here on 102.5 The Game. The Predators are riding a 5-game winning streak, a season-high 5-game winning streak as they make a push for a playoff spot. They occupy the final playoff spot in the Western Conference as play starts tonight. So, as we await Derek Mason, Willie Donick and I are doing a Predators AUA. Ask us anything. 615-737-1025. We will select at random a caller or a texter, and that person will win a pair of tickets to see the Predators face the Canadiens here at Bridgestone Arena on Saturday night. Make it a good question, though, because we will weigh that in determining the winner.
There's a lot of material because we've had a lot of people that have been on Adam's side saying, hey, why get excited? They're going to be a big underdog. They're in the middle. They should have traded more guys. So you can ask about that. And there have been people that, like me, are enjoying this ride. And so there's a lot to ask about. So let's fire away here.
Tom,
615-737-1025. We want to hear from you. And you could win tickets.
You could. And it's a hot ticket. Saturday night in Smashville against Montreal.
That'll be exciting.
Hockey night in Canada. The Predators will be honoring Ryan Johansson.
It's going to be electric. Ryan Johansson will be in the booth with us in the second period, too. That will be fun.
Have
Joey unleashed.
Have the mute button ready, just in case.
He'll keep it together.
I know he will.
There will be some laughing out loud moments, though. I will promise you.
I think he could have a good career as a broadcaster.
He's a natural.
If he chose to do that.
He said he doesn't want to do it. He was on the podcast with Mr. Max Hurst, Kara Hammer, Brooks Batten, and he said he did not want to do that.
Well,
I think maybe a podcaster. He's a natural, though.
Yes.
He's a communicator.
I think he would be good at it. So you have a lot to look forward to if you win those tickets. 615-737-1025. Tom says Chicago played its first-round pick this week. Is Brady Martin eligible to play, and how would that change the Predators' potential playoff run? Well, first of all, Brady Martin has played games for the Predators this season. He started the season with the team, appeared in, three games, Willie, before returning to his junior team. I don't know if his junior season is over.
I don't believe it is.
But once it is, he can come back.
He can.
Yes.
I don't know. I haven't heard a lot of scuttlebutt on that in terms of whether they think he would be good enough to jump in and help. Frondell did play a good first game, but this is the beauty of when you're with the Blackhawks and you're not going to make it. They have nothing to lose. They're not playing for anything. So they can just throw him in there. Much like the Predators, they traded for Philip Forsberg. He flew over from Sweden like Frondell and jumped right in at age 18. They had nothing to lose. So it's a little bit of a different situation. But there have been guys that have done it before. Guys, young, talented players who jump on board and make a contribution. Injuries could happen. They're not super deep at center, but I think that would be a little rich for Brady Martin, unless he's made a big jump since the beginning of the season. But his big picture is very good. There's a lot of talk about the rule changes. We can ask Elliotte if there's been any further confirmation, but there's a speculation that a 19-year-old like Brady Martin would be eligible to play for Milwaukee next year, which would be, I think, speed up the development process.
Remember, Brady Martin started the season with the Predators, played only home games, if I am not mistaken. The team went on a week-long road trip early in the season. He didn't play in any of those games. The Predators were sheltering him, protecting him, perhaps, because it is much harder, of course, on the road when you don't dictate the matchup. So even if Brady Martin were to rejoin the Predators after his junior season is over, I can't imagine a scenario where he is getting into playoff games barring multiple injuries. He could still be with the team, practice with the team, travel with the team, but I can't imagine a scenario where Brady Martin is getting into playoff games this season. Let's go to our phone line. Welcome in Justin. Justin, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm new to all this NHL stuff, so I'm calling to ask you guys, what made you fall in love with the NHL, if not Predators hockey?
Well, thank you for the call, Justin. That's a good question. If I may share my story first, Willie Donick.
Do it.
I grew up in the Hampton Roads region of Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, that region of Virginia. And we did not have major league professional sports. We had, and still do have, a AAA baseball team, the Norfolk Tides, and at the time, an ECHL hockey team, the Hampton Roads Admirals. And my dad would take me to baseball games in the summer, and I like baseball. It's not my favorite sport. Sorry, guys. It's not my favorite sport, but hockey just grabbed me. The speed of the game, the physicality, I was hooked. And my dad would take me to hockey games every Friday or Saturday night that the Admirals were in town at the Norfolk Scope. So my love of hockey started there. The Admirals NHL affiliate was the Washington Capitals, which Washington to Virginia Beach, about a 3.5, 4-hour drive. So my dad would drive up with me to DC, take me to some games. And yeah, it all started when I was young, going to minor league hockey games. And when I moved to Washington for college in 2007, any chance I got to go to Capitals games, I went to Capitals games, and it led to a career in journalism and covering hockey, and that's how I landed here. So if not for my love of hockey, Justin, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair right now.
For me, I spent my childhood up until age 12 in New York, and that happened to be right when the Miracle on Ice happened and the New York Islanders won 4 straight Stanley Cups. So that was my connection to hockey. I never played. And then I moved to Florida for my high school years and completely lost touch because this was pre-Lightning and Panthers. So the only time I watched was playoffs on ESPN, things like that. I kept an eye on it. But then when the Predators came to town, that I guess foundation I had came in handy. Also, as a minor league baseball player for the Blue Jays, playing Sega Genesis NHL 94, I knew the main guys and what they could do. It's crazy that sounds. I knew just enough maybe to get by early with a fan base that was trying to learn. Then I just hitched my wagon to Pete Weber and Terry Crisp. And I said, I'm just going to be a sponge. I'm going to learn everything I can from these guys.
Let's go to Jay on our phone line. Jay, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, guys. So I got like a couple of parts on my question. First, even though the team will be most likely, under the gun, right? I mean, they won't be the favorites going into any playoff game. From a pure business standpoint, aren't having at least 2, maybe 3 more games here at Bridgestone for the income standpoint important to the team and for free agency down the line to show that, hey, this team is a playoff contender, they can get there? Does that not make a good selling point for the free agents coming in or potential free agents? And I'll just hang up and let you guys talk about that.
Thank you, Jay. Well, of course, playoff games are great for revenue. The Predators certainly want that. And free agents are certainly attracted to teams that are consistently in the playoffs. Steven Stamkos, for example, wouldn't have signed here in 2024 if he didn't think that the Predators could compete in the playoffs. So it's certainly a good thing. It certainly doesn't hurt if the team makes the playoffs from a business and potential free agency standpoint.
Oh, no question at all. I think they want to remain a destination city, and I think they definitely have that. People want to play in Nashville, but if you do tear it down and you're not good for a while, I think you probably lose that. Isn't that fair to say? I think you lose some of that. Now, I think what will be something to watch, Adam, is how many really good free agents hit the market in the next couple of years, because the cap has gone way up, so there's not as many teams that are right up against it that just have no budget at all. So that is allowing them to keep potential free agents off the free market. So I'm not sure it's going to be an easy thing to cash in on free agent wise, but the Predators definitely have plenty of cap space in the coming years because they're going to be out from under the Matt Duchene buyout, the bulk of it anyway, when they hit the new year this summer. And so they'll have some good budget to work with. And so I think the contracts that may have seemed like they were a little big the last couple of years, like Stamkos for $8 million, I think with the rising cap, those are actually bargain contracts. Those are, or at least right in line with what they should be.
Caleb in Gallatin says, when Stamkos, Marchessault, and Shea arrived, everyone was expecting at least a conference final appearance, but those expectations quickly changed. The way everyone is performing now, is this the team you would have expected to see from the get-go? And also, is this what we should expect from here on out? Or do you think they just caught fire and we should still manage our expectations? That from Caleb in Gallatin. So, some interesting points there, Caleb. I remember the day after the spending spree of 2024, I said my expectation for that team, which meaning last season's team, was you got to win 2 rounds of the playoffs.
And what did Coach Willie say?
That I was nuts.
Yep.
And we weren't even
just to expect it. We
weren't even teammates yet.
Now, did I think that they had the ability to do that? I absolutely did, based on the season they had before and adding the players they did. I was all in on that. But to say you expect to win, it just doesn't work that way in the playoffs. But that aside, right? They look like they had it at that point. It seems crazy to think back on those days.
Yes. To answer Caleb's question about, is this what we should expect from here on out, or do you think they just caught fire and we should still manage our expectations? I do think, Caleb and listeners, that you should manage your expectations because we've talked about this. We've talked about this a lot. I vented yesterday about this. When you look under the hood of why the Predators are playing the way they have been playing for the past 3 weeks, there are a couple of things that stand out. One, goaltending. Saros and Onninen have been outstanding. Combined, the Predators have saved more goals than expected than any team in the league over the past 3 weeks, which speaks to how well the goaltenders are playing. The defense, the team defense around the goaltenders has not been good. The goaltenders have had to cover up a lot of mistakes. So your concern would be Saros and Onninen come back down to earth. The defense does not improve, and then the bottom drops out. Offensively, look, when you're hot, you're hot. The Predators scored 5 goals on 7 shots to open the game the other night. That rarely happens. It's not going to continue to happen. But Steven Stamkos has been scoring at a really solid clip for 3-4 months now. Philip Forsberg is playing excellently. Matthew Wood at center has worked out so far. So offensively, there are things to be encouraged by.
The power play consistency,
yes,
I think, is another one that has been it's been consistent long enough that you feel like it's a legit weapon. I mean, I think that it's not a fluke that they're in the top 10. I think in power play, so they do have some things going for them. But I agree that it's a team that has flaws. It's a team that has worked very hard to overcome the flaws and be the best version of themselves when they were, the opposite for a year and a third, basically. So I commend them, and I think they do have a lot going for them with the intangibles right now. I think they have a very strong locker room leadership group that knows how to win and knows how to find ways to win. And so if you have really good goaltending and you have that, I think you have something that you're bringing to the table. But they've got to keep it going for 11 games because they are by no means home free at all. This thing's going to have some twists and turns before the end of it.
One texter says, when's the new GM coming in? And the priorities wanting to make the playoffs and get better and younger for the future, is it more of a detriment not playing more young guys than not? Well, as Willie has pointed out, the Predators have played a lot of young guys lately. I mentioned this as we discussed the Predators and Sharks on Tuesday. You would think that the Sharks would have a much younger roster than the Predators because the Sharks' top players are all 19, 20, 21, 22. The Predators and the Sharks, their average ages are basically the same. The Sharks are a teeny tiny bit younger. So the Predators, although they're top players, their offensive drivers are older players in their early to mid, in some cases, upper 30s. Between Luke Evangelista, Matt Wood, Ryan Efko, Fedor Svechkov, Zachary LaRue, there are
Reed Schaefer, Kemmel,
right.
Weisblatt. They will dress 7 to 8 players each game that are 24 and under. So they have, since the trade deadline, and people may not have seen that if you're just kind of honing in on it now, they are playing really all of the prospects with few exceptions that are in the range that are ready to play in the NHL right now. So they haven't blocked any of their top prospects. So I think that's the thing that I hope people feel good about if you're going to watch. I would feel a little bit uneasy about the position I've taken, which is, hey, enjoy the ride. See if you can see it through. Going from last to playoffs when you were last place as late as December 6th would be a great story, regardless of the circumstances. But I would feel a little less excited about it if you get there and you had traded future assets or you had kept everybody. Would you agree, Adam? I think what they did to move on from 4 veterans and bring in 4 young guys balances the books a little bit for those that are like, hey, we got to get younger, right? We've got to look at the future. This is the serving 2 masters.
And admittedly, I pounced on that comment when Barry Trotz made it. You were not on the show that day.
Yeah.
You were traveling. And it will be interesting to see how people, including myself, react if the Predators make the playoffs regarding what Barry Trotz did. Because at the moment, on deadline day, I was disappointed about how the Predators approached the deadline. If the Predators make the playoffs after the moves Barry Trotz made, shipping players out, bringing young players in, already on the team, of course, some of us may have to eat some crow. But one texter says, this is how we will end it. One texter says, Adam struggles to praise the team as it takes away from his tear it down stance. You choose your words carefully to not give them the credit they deserve. They have played well lately, lots of work to do, but embrace the good play.
Well, I think it's been notable, right, that I thought when they traded those 4 guys, they weakened their roster. I think there was a concern internally that, oh, wow, can you still compete taking away these 4 guys who have played critical roles? So it's a credit to the young guys that they've been able to come in and give them that youthful energy to where they have not dropped off.
All I would say to that texter is go back and listen to the start of the 5 o'clock hour yesterday regarding choosing my words carefully to not give them the credit they deserve. I don't think I'm doing that at all. I think you're reaching. 615-737-1025.
So you want to say on the record again, you're enjoying the story. We've gotten you on board. You're enjoying the ride. You have loosened your grip on. They've got to tear it down. They've got to get worse before they can get better, which was your mantra for months.
Well, it's been my mantra for
years,
actually.
really. For years, actually.
For years, actually.
Yeah, you're right.
I am enjoying the story. I think I can enjoy the story while also having concerns about the future. I think you are allowed to do both. I don't think you have to be all in one bucket or the other. I think I can enjoy the story. As I've mentioned multiple times, I love playoff hockey. I will be here for the playoff games. I will cover the playoff games. I can enjoy the ride while also being skeptical about what's to come. I don't think you have to choose one or the other. I think it's okay to be in 2 boxes. 615-737-1025. We will determine a winner. We will determine a winner. Coming up next, there's also a report about a coach in town that's worth mentioning, and we will do that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. Thanks to everyone who participated in our Predators Ask Us Anything. We love talking hockey. We're glad we're able to do it. If you did not win the tickets, I believe we have one more pair to give away tomorrow. So be listening for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on the Canadiens on Saturday during our program tomorrow. Willie, David James brought this to my attention from John Rothstein of CBS Sports. Sources, Vanderbilt is endeavoring to sign Mark Byington to a long-term contract extension after back-to-back trips to the NCAA tournament. Nothing has been signed yet, but the Commodores administration began working well prior to the coaching carousel to lock up Byington. And as fate would have it, Candice Storey, Vanderbilt AD, is expected to join us in roughly 1 hour. So we can ask her about this. But the report from John Rothstein of CBS Sports, Vanderbilt is endeavoring to sign Mark Byington to a long-term contract extension.
This really shouldn't surprise anybody. As I said yesterday, it's a different outlook in college sports, and it's certainly a different outlook at Vanderbilt. There was a time when the immediate answer might have been, oh, boy, is Vanderbilt going to commit it? I was in school, my coach, National Coach of the Year, SEC champions, 1993. One of the lower paid coaches in the SEC, was hoping to get a raise, got courted by a lot of teams, including South Carolina. Went to South Carolina and interviewed, waiting for the phone to ring. Vanderbilt, he wanted to stay. Vanderbilt, crickets. So he left. I mean, it's happened, but that's the old Vanderbilt. This is different. I feel like, too, the expectations that a coach at Vanderbilt University, regardless of sport, can have are way different than they used to be. It used to be, can you win a national title at Vanderbilt? I don't know. Now it's like, hey, baseball's done it. Tennis has done it. Football closer. Why not? Why couldn't you? Just especially the way the landscape has changed with NIL.
The coaching carousel is starting to spin in college basketball. The huge news earlier this week, North Carolina firing Hubert Davis. And we mentioned Mark Byington's name came up in a story on The Athletic about potential candidates to replace Hubert Davis. The news today, Will Wade bailing on NC State after just one season to go back to LSU. So a lot of high-profile jobs opening in college basketball, and with the work that Mark Byington has done at Vanderbilt. And keep in mind the work he was doing before arriving at Vanderbilt to get the Vanderbilt job. He turned JMU into one of the best mid-major basketball programs in the country. That's how he got the Vanderbilt job. So after 2 seasons at Vanderbilt, a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, we all argued it probably should have been higher, a heartbreaking loss last weekend to Nebraska. But Byington has done a tremendous job turning around the Vanderbilt basketball program. So as you said, Willie, it does not shock me in the slightest that reportedly Vanderbilt is trying to sign Byington to a long-term contract extension. Candice Storey, Vandy AD, will join us at 5:30. So I'm sure this will come up. We've got other questions for Candice Storey as well. The women's basketball team still alive in the NCAA women's basketball tournament. They play tomorrow afternoon against Notre Dame. Football had a fabulous season. Diego Pavia was a Heisman Trophy finalist, of course. So a lot to get into with Candice Storey. That interview coming up in just 1 hour. Let's keep it on college basketball. The Sweet 16 starts tonight. 4 games, starting with Texas versus Purdue in the West region, followed by Arkansas versus Arizona, the other West region matchup. In the South region, Iowa, fresh off an upset of defending national champion Florida, faces Nebraska, which defeated Vanderbilt last weekend. And then the main event, Illinois versus Houston in Houston at the Toyota Center, I believe is the name of the arena. Yes, in Houston where the Rockets play.
Yes.
So
I have seen the Rockets play there.
So a home court advantage for the Cougars. And because the Cougars are not the hosts of this region, they can play there. I believe that's the rule, correct?
I don't know. It's not their home court.
You don't seem to like this. I get the vibe you don't like that.
Well,
Houston
it's not
is playing
ideal.
in Houston.
It's not ideal. I think a number 1 seed being rewarded to play in an atmosphere where you're going to take over the building, that is earned a little bit more than a 2 seed. But look, it's happened before. It's not the first time it's happened. So, I do think Illinois has a big enough fan base that they will be represented. They will have a decent amount of people. And remember, in this particular game, there's a doubleheader. So the other 2 teams will have some people there too. May not be as pronounced as it would be in the regional final.
So apparently, Rice University, which is also in Houston, if I'm not mistaken,
It is?
came to the rescue and decided to host the South region. So Rice is hosting the South region so that Houston
What does that
can play
exactly
there.
mean? Yeah.
NCAA,
You're the host.
I'm not really sure exactly what that means. I don't know what that entails, but NCAA rules do not allow schools to play in venues where they are the host institution. So Houston is not the host institution for the South region and therefore can play down the road. So it will be interesting to see what the fan contingent is like. We talked so much last week about Nebraska and all of the fans they brought to Oklahoma City for those 2 games. I have to imagine the crowd will be heavily in Houston's favor tonight. But 4 fantastic games. I would say the marquee matchups in the Sweet 16 are tomorrow. The East region is absolutely stacked. St. John's versus Duke, Michigan State versus UConn, and in the Midwest region, Alabama versus Michigan, Tennessee versus Iowa State. I don't know if Joshua Jefferson, one of Iowa State's top players who missed the game against Kentucky because of an ankle injury, I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow against Tennessee. But it would be something, Willie, if this Tennessee team, and we've mentioned this before, this Tennessee team overall may be the least talented Tennessee team in recent memory for Rick Barnes, but it would be something if this Tennessee team is the team that goes far in the tournament.
It's funny how that works sometimes. I think, if you look at any program in any sport that's good every year, you probably say to yourself, this team was better than X team was better than Y team, but Y went further. It just happens. Like I think Vanderbilt's baseball team, for example, first won the national title in 2014. I think player for player, they were better in 2013, but lost in the Super Regional. I think that can happen. I don't think Tennessee's as stacked as they have been the last couple years with all that they've lost and turned over. But who knows? This could be the year. They're a 3.5-point underdog, which tells me that I have to believe that Iowa State is still what's his name? Josh, the guy that got injured.
Josh Jefferson.
Josh Jefferson. Not having him, I think, has got to be a factor a little bit here, or him maybe not 100%. But I think Tennessee, what have I said all year about them? Their defense and their rebounding is going to keep them in every game. They will be in the game. It's just a matter of, can they find a way? And Iowa State has elite defense. If you look at their metrics, they're really, really good. Their defense is even better than their offense. So we got to see how Jefferson looks, but I think Tennessee will have a really good chance. This will be a grinding game, I think.
Eli says Rice hosting means its sports athletic staff is working, or individuals associated with the sports athletic staff are working the stadium. Okay. I learned something today. Thank you, Eli. I've never known what that means. I believe the SoCon conference, for example, hosted the Greenville regional in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, I guess. But Houston gets a home game out of it, so thanks to Rice. 615-737-1037. 1025. We'll take your reaction to the NCAA tournament. We hear Derek Mason is on his way. We cannot wait to see him because I do have a couple of questions for Derek Mason when he arrives. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home with a $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. Taking bets on when Derek Mason shows up. He's on his way. He had an important doctor's appointment today, hence why he hasn't been on the show, but he's on his way. Will he make it before the end of this segment?
You have to find out. I feel like when he gets here, you're just going to pepper him with questions. So you're very excited about Derek coming in.
I love Derek.
Is he going to be ready for this? Like,
he needs to be ready.
You're not going to let him ease into the show.
No, there is no easing into the show. I did want to ask him about this. I saw this earlier and it made me laugh. Indiana's Curt Cignetti rips transfer Nick Marsh for gold cleats. On ESPN.com, Cignetti, who guided Indiana to a 16-0 record last fall, was asked about decorated incoming transfer Nick Marsh, a starting wide receiver the past 2 seasons at Michigan State. And among the notable transfers Indiana added in January, the coach noted Marsh's production at MSU before pivoting to the juniors' choice of footwear. Quote, I didn't love those gold shoes he came out in today. He learned what getting your ass ripped is all about. I don't know if that happened to him very often in Michigan State. That was before practice started. End quote.
Setting the tone.
I want to know how Derek Mason feels about Kurt Signetti ripping one of his beloved Spartans for wearing gold shoes.
I don't feel like Derek Mason was a gold shoe guy. I don't think he was flashy with the footwear. So I don't know. Maybe he'll side with Signetti. He's gonna have the Michigan State. He will defend the Michigan State Spartan green forever.
Yes. We'll have to ask him that when he shows up. One texter about the Predators says, if the NHL went to 3-point games instead of this insane system where some are worth 2 and some worth 1, the Preds would be safely in the playoffs and the East wouldn't look so much better than the West. Or like the other major sports, just have wins and losses and don't reward going to overtime. Why hasn't this been done? The conversation about the point format in the NHL has been ongoing. A lot of people prefer the idea of
3-2-1.
Yes, 3 points for a regulation win, 2 points for an overtime or shootout win, 1 point for an overtime or shootout loss, 0 points for a regulation loss. But the NHL likes the format the way it is. Gary Bettman also talks about how he loves the playoff format. I don't think a lot of people love the playoff format because oftentimes one team that should be heavily favored in a series is the underdog in a series. I mean, think about the projected first round matchup between the Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild in the Central Division. The Dallas Stars are the second best team in the NHL. The Minnesota Wild are the 6th best team in the NHL. And one of those two teams won't make it out of the first round.
I have to believe if you had a fan vote and threw the players in there, threw the coaches in there, put all hockey people, in the NHL and all of the fans, I would think it would be a landslide to do the 1 versus 8, the way that the format used to be. Would you agree?
Yes.
And it was like, 2012 or something that they switched
the wild
to
card
this?
format came to be in the 2013-14 season.
13-14, okay.
Yes.
I feel like that is one that everybody agrees on. Not everybody. Gary Bettman clearly has a big vote, and he is steadfastly wanting to keep it the way it is. But how do you stand on the other one, the 3-2-1? Like, I do think it's a little confusing for a casual fan to see these points and say, what's going on? And why, it's a little easier to follow this way, where it's just 2 and 1, but it does change the math some. It doesn't change it as much as you might think. I feel like people have studied this year after year. It's not like it's a drastic change, but it would maybe be a better way to separate teams that are super close and reward teams that win more games in regulation.
Well, let me tell you this. The Nashville Predators have 25 regulation wins this season. And regulation wins are a big tiebreaker. The Predators,
it's the number 1 tiebreaker, right?
I believe that is true. The Predators have 25 regulation wins. They have as many regulation wins as the Minnesota Wild, who have 15 more points than the Predators in the standings.
And, the LA Kings, who are the team closest to the Predators in the fight for the wild card.
18 regulation wins this season.
18 regulation wins and 18 overtime losses. That's a lot of loss. And it's not like they haven't won any games in overtime, but they just go to overtime a lot. So there has been a reward year after year for, and this is much more likely to happen in low-scoring games, right? A low-scoring game is more likely to go to overtime. And so low-scoring teams are rewarded by getting to overtime. And then what you do from there can vary, within a year drastically, right? But some teams are better than others. Like the Sharks are 12-6 in overtime. That's one of the better records in overtime. And when you look at their skill, the space on the ice in a 3-on-3, they're probably built for overtime better than some teams. Predators are, for the record, 9-9. They're straight 500 in games that have gone to overtime.
If you were to reformat the playoff format to 1 versus 8 in each conference, here would be the playoff matchups as of today. Colorado versus Nashville. That wouldn't change. Dallas versus Vegas. Minnesota versus Edmonton. Anaheim versus Utah. Those would be your 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5 matchups in the Western Conference. So some change there because at the moment, the projected playoff matchups in the Western Conference, Colorado, Nashville, Dallas, Minnesota, Edmonton, Vegas, Anaheim, Utah. So really not too much of a difference.
Just the Dallas, Minnesota, which is, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's locked in, but it's about as close as you can be to locked in, right?
The Stars are 7 points back of the Avalanche, having played one more game.
Yeah, for a while, it looked like they were making a run at them. But Colorado has bounced back and won the last few. It looks like they're going to hold them off. Dallas, Minnesota, holy cow, that's going to be a series.
Absolutely.
Did anybody see Michael McCarron just pummel Corey Perry the other day? Good grief.
I'm sure a lot of Predators fans appreciated that.
Sure. I mean, Corey Perry is the classic villain. But, man.
Corey Perry may be the villain in Predators history. If you were putting together a list of the biggest villains in Predators history, I think Corey Perry would be number one.
If he's not number one, he's top two, top three. Patrick Kane would be a contender.
Patrick Kane.
Ryan Suter.
Yeah. Corey Perry.
I'm hoping the Ryan Suter will fall down the rankings over time. You know, time heals wounds. I hope someday Ryan Suter can come back to Nashville.
Ryan Kessler,
no question.
Ryan Kessler would be a big one on that list as well. One texter says, did you guys hear Max Hurst's idea about reformatting the NHL to drop conferences and just rank every team 1 through 16 for playoffs? I did not hear that idea, Max.
They actually did that back in the early 80s, I think, which is why the Islanders could play the Flyers in the Stanley Cup final. And Montreal played the Rangers. They used to do that, 1 to 16, regardless of conference.
By that logic, the Predators would miss the playoffs because the Predators are 20th.
Yeah, that would not be
NHL.
Good. Yeah.
It is interesting to see which teams would make it based on this format. It would basically be all teams in the Eastern Conference. How many Western Conference teams are in the top 16? Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota, Anaheim, and Utah.
Only 5?
Utah, Anaheim, Minnesota, Dallas, Colorado. Only 5 of the top 16 teams in the NHL are in the Western Conference.
And 4 of the 5 are in the Central.
That is also true, which just goes to show you how tough the Central Division is. Justin says, don't forget Alexander Burrows as a Predators villain.
Oh, yes. Going back a ways. Good call.
Yes. Gator Tim says, Jimmy VC. Jimmy VC.
always
on the list.
Forever on the
There's
list.
Derek Mason.
Derek Mason in the house.
There he is. He made it.
Ready to go.
He made it. Your mic is on. I set it up for you. I've got lots of questions.
Steve Mace, you should feel good about yourself because Adam has been so excited. When is Derek going to get here? Derek Mason's on his way. He's on his way.
I'm like a dog.
He's coming.
I'm like a dog staring out my window. Willie knows I would feel the same way about him if you were here and he wasn't. Yes. I'm like a dog staring out the window waiting for my owner to come home. But Derek Mason is here. Hi, Derek. How are you?
What's going on, man? It's been a long day, but a good day. You know, I had a doctor's appointment, and I don't mind sharing it. I mean, you know, when you've played a physical sport for a long time, you may get some ailments here and there, and I was having, or still is having some issues with my back, but it's minor after talking with the doctor. Just gonna do some rehab and take it there first for a good bit, and then if it continues, which he doesn't believe it will, but if it does, then we'll take other measures. But right now, I'm just gonna do some rehab, strengthen up the core. Got to Pilates score. Pilates all. I got to do it all,
Yoga,
man.
Yeah.
You know.
That's good. That's good. We're glad you're in good health.
Yes.
You missed a lot today.
I'm sure I have.
But we'll catch you up. We'll catch you up. We've talked a lot of Predators. A lot of people are interested in the local professional hockey team.
Did I miss Did I miss
Candice Storey? No, she's coming up
at
5:30.
Okay, cool.
We made sure that you would be here in time for Vanderbilt Athletic Director Candice Storey Lee. I almost called her Candy. I don't know her that well. Candice
Just like
Storey
Candy.
Lee. She will. Her friends may call her Candy,
Exactly.
but
We haven't reached that yet.
that's too informal for
Yes.
me. Candice Storey Lee will join us at 5:30. Elliotte Friedman will join us at the top of the hour. I did want to get your thoughts on one thing
Yes.
I mentioned to Willie before you came in. I want to know how you feel about Curt Cignetti ripping a Michigan State transfer on Indiana for wearing gold cleats before practice.
He was ripping
Have you seen this?
a former
So Indiana
Spartan.
has a former Spartans wide receiver named Nick Marsh.
Yes, I remember Nick Marsh is a hell of a receiver. Yes.
Nick Marsh apparently attempted to wear gold cleats to practice.
Okay.
And Cignetti said, quote, "I didn't love those gold shoes he came out in today. He learned what getting your ass ripped is all about." I don't know if that happened to him very often at Michigan State. That was before practice started.
How did the story get out there?
Cignetti mentioned it.
See, this is I don't know. I don't
He
know
brought
how
it
I
up.
feel. If you should have explained all of this when he transferred to your school, you should have explained these are, the things that we do, and these are the things that we don't do. We wear a certain color cleat, whether it's black or white. We don't sort of go off the color spectrum in regards to our colors. So if you want to wear red and white or even possibly black, yes. But outside of that color, we don't allow. That's not who we are. And if he didn't explain it to her, I don't know why in the hell he's ripping them. Like, is that a badge of honor for Cignetti? That it's sort of in the mode of Nick Saban back in the day when Nick was young. But the thing is, Cignetti's not young. I hope he doesn't get to a point where, because he's won a championship, because people see him a certain way, now he has to continue. He has to sort of push in even more to this persona that he has. My thing is, listen, I understand these young men and women are getting paid now, but I've always said there's a way you do things. And if no one asks that specific question, or Marsh didn't bring it up, why then would you bring it up? Now, if you talk with Marsh about it and he didn't care about you talking, then cool. But I'm just not that type of guy that's going to, especially if a guy's just coming to my program and he doesn't quite know the ins and the outs of the program. I'm going to allow it to happen one time and then let you know that one time. I'm not going to rip you. It's just going to, hey, that's not what we do. You might have done that at Michigan State, and that's great. But here at Indiana, this is what we do. And I'm sure Nick Marsh would have been like, okay. Now, if he does it after that, then you have your opportunity to rip him a new one. But I just don't understand this, just because you don't like you see it for the first time, now all of a sudden now you want to rip somebody. Just pull them to the side. Or one of the upperclassmen should have said something in the locker room.
Yeah. Hey, before you go out here, just
exactly.
know
Coach is gonna get
coach is going to be on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the part I don't get. It's just like,
somebody look out for the guy.
Exactly. Somebody in the locker room.
Assistant coach, equipment guy, somebody
that recruited you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, bro, you may want to go back in because Coach Sig don't like that. And then, but nobody it seemed like
now if they did that and he said, I'm all right, then you're like, okay, go ahead.
Nah,
watch what happens.
Proceed at your own risk.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you don't, you just don't rip a guy and make it public if you haven't laid down all of the guidelines. That's my thing.
615-737-1025. Elliotte Friedman, Sportsnet NHL Insider, will join us coming up next. The Predators host the New Jersey Devils tonight at 7 o'clock. Elliotte coming up next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, this is Derek Mason. If you injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. But Law Tigers fights to get you the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike gears worth to you, so they will help you get it all repaired or better yet replaced. So call 1-800 Law Tigers or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Street South. And remember, go to predatorsbike.com to enter to win a custom Nashville Predator Indian motorcycle signed by the entire team. And where are they at? Located at in the standings?
They're in
Adam?
a playoff spot.
They are absolutely in the playoff spot. So not only will you get it signed by the entire team, but this is a team that seems to be primed and ready for the playoffs. So, courtesy of Law Tigers and Music City Indians. So, Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D. Mace, Vingan Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, David Janes here with you. We are live at Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators will host the New Jersey Devils. Puck drop at 7, pregame at 6, right here on 102.5 The Game. And to talk Predators and NHL, let's go to our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, and welcome in our friend, Sportsnet NHL insider, Elliotte Friedman, who is presented by Old National Bank. Get old. Hi, Elliotte. How are you?
Do we have Elliotte?
I don't hear Elliotte.
Oh, sorry about that. I had my mute on for a second. That's my fault. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. Thank you for joining us as always. So the Predators have won 5 in a row. They have surged into a playoff spot in the Western Conference. What is the reaction around the NHL regarding the Predators' recent surge into a playoff spot?
It was funny. I was talking to one reporter the other day, and he was like, well, I never have a problem with Nashville being on my list of potential playoff cities. So that was one of the reactions, I can tell you. I think we're just really surprised but impressed. I mean, I don't think anybody saw this a few months ago. I think we all thought there was a possibility guys were going to get traded out of there. And that, you know, the Predators were going to begin some kind of a rebuild. And now, you know, it was funny. I was talking to this about someone this week, and, you know, we were discussing about the situation and where the team is going and now being where they are. And he says, look, if you take a long view, the birth certificates don't change. Like, the players are the players and they are where they are, but you certainly feel a lot better about where you are and the fact you've climbed into the race. And, you know, this is the thing, like, you can never, ever, ever expect players with pride to throw in the towel. And I think guys like O'Reilly have a lot of pride, guys like Stamkos, Yossi Forsberg, they have a lot of pride. And I know that there were people who probably wanted them to rebuild, but to those guys in that room, this is much, much more preferable than rebuilding.
Elliotte, one thing I have been wondering as the Predators have been piling up the wins, how much influence could this stretch and a potential playoff berth have on the Predators' GM search? Could the Predators' preferences change based on what happens the rest of this season?
Adam, I would say in the short term, my sense is it doesn't change. It doesn't change who they want. I think that's the best way for me to answer the question. I don't think it changes who they want and what kind of person that they are looking for. I think they are looking for someone with a long-term vision to run their hockey operations. And once they identify who that person is, they will build around them. You know, like I said, even though it's been great to watch and it's great for Predators fans, the birth certificates don't change based on your roster. Like, eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to turn over some of this and you're going to have to replace some really good and really important players. So I don't think the overall long-term vision of who is going to take over as manager has changed at all.
Elliotte, with the way that the Predators have been playing, there are a lot of fans who are now considering Utah in the mix as the Predators chase down the Mammoth for the first wild card spot. And that would be more ideal for the Predators if they make the playoffs because of the state of the Pacific Division. I love
pillow fight division.
Yes, I loved Connor McDavid's line last week about it being a bit of a pillow fight. This is not, I mean, last season, the Pacific Division had multiple of the best teams in the league. Vegas, Edmonton, Los Angeles. Why has the Pacific Division fallen off so much year over year, in your opinion?
Well, I think the number one obvious question is goaltending. It's been real shocking to me, but Edmonton has had, I mean, their goaltending troubles have been on for years. Everybody knows their issues. But the thing that's really surprised me this year is Vegas' issues. You know, Aiden Hill is a guy who won a Stanley Cup 3 years ago, and he's had a nightmare of a season. Like, I mean, you guys saw it. I was watching your game against them last Saturday, they're out shooting you 24-9, and you guys are up 3-0. They had a game against Utah right around the same time where Utah had 3 goals on 3 shots in the first period. And it just is a reminder that the most important position in this game is goaltending. And it doesn't matter what you have in front of them. If you can't make saves, you're doomed. And that is why the Predators are fortunate. They have a super competitive and talented guy in Saros that gives you a chance on most nights. Because when it goes sideways, like it's gone sideways for both those teams, you're treading water.
Now, Elliotte, how will, because Barry Trotz's tenure here is winding to an end pretty soon.
Yep.
And obviously we know they got to find another GM, but he hadn't been on a job that long. It's been 4 years, or it will coming up on 4 years in July. How do you think his tenure will be looked upon? And do you think years, like in the next 2 or 3 years, if this team does find itself perennially in the playoff, will that be good on his resume?
Yeah, I think so. Like, to me, I mean, Derek, you live down there, you know better than me, but I think that Barry Trotz's reputation in Nashville is cemented and solid. I think.
Do you think it still would be that way across the league?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like, you have to understand, like, people really think highly of Barry Trotz. They really do. He's like, just as a person, he's got a lot of universal respect. Obviously, as a coach, he won a Stanley Cup, but building a franchise along with David Poyle, the way he treats people, he has universal respect in terms of the way he's handled himself. And you know what? Like, I mean, this season, Derek, it's been a crazy season. It certainly hasn't been on like a straight path by any stretch of the imagination. But, as the manager, like, when your name is on top of that masthead or it's got that title, you probably get more credit for things than you deserve, but you also get more blame for things than you deserve. So when a season shoots up positively like this one is, it reflects on you as well as a bad season hurts you. So I think it only helps his legacy, but to me, Barry Trotz's legacy in Nashville was secure. You guys live there. You can tell me if I'm wrong.
Elliotte Friedman is with us, 32 Thoughts, the podcast, Hockey Night in Canada. Elliotte, one of the more interesting stories of the Predators' surge here is Matt Wood, who was a mid-first-round pick a couple years ago in Nashville, just turned 21. And Barry Trotz was on with us yesterday saying, you know what, after the trade deadline, we almost had no choice. We didn't have enough centers. We had to try him at center. And not only has he gone there, but he's played his best hockey of the year. And Philip Forsberg and Jonathan Marchessault have played really well on his wings. What have you noticed about him from afar?
Well, I think the one thing is that you meet a lot of people, and they will tell you that I like to ask people when they do drafting, Willie, what do you like in a player? And some people, they'll say things like skating. Are they a good skater? But, if you're not a good skater, you can work on it. But like a lot of the thing that people talk about is hockey sense and competitiveness. Like Ken Holland, who's the longtime GM now with the Kings, he always said to me the most important thing was competitiveness. When games got more important, whether you win or you lose, did the guy battle? And I met a lot of other people who said hockey sense, and that's just another way of saying intelligence on the ice. Is it someone who knows what the right plays are at the most possible times? And I think when you have a player like that who's young, and I'll say this, like, one of the hardest positions to play when you're young is center. Because, like, you look at your conference, look at your division. Like, look at the guys, like, when you're playing with Philip Forsberg and Jonathan Marchessault, you're playing against good players. Like, look at the guys he's probably lining up against. Guys like potentially Matt Boldy. Guys, like, look at what Colorado has down the middle. Like, you can't hide against that team. Those guys will kick your ass. Like, there was a player named Mike Richards, when he's retired now. He went to a Stanley Cup final with Philadelphia. He won a Stanley Cup with the Kings, and he won a gold medal with Canada at the Olympics in 2010. First year he came up, Philly wasn't very good. And he said to me, every night I was going up against the best centers of the Eastern Conference, and I was getting destroyed. But I learned my lesson. So you see a guy like Wood here, he's going up against really good players. I'm sure some nights he isn't very good, but obviously he's stuck there. That says to me he's competitive and he's smart. And if you have those two things, you can work your way through almost any situation.
Elliotte, the Devils are here tonight. And, of course, we'll see Jack Hughes for the first time since the Olympic goal. Yep. And Andrew Brunette has an interesting background with him having been on that staff for a while. Hughes is playing great. And the first thing Andrew Brunette said is New Jersey really shouldn't be where they are in the standings. And so this is an interesting matchup in New Jersey. I think it's won 8 out of 11. They just won in Dallas. What are your thoughts on this matchup tonight?
Well, Hughes is a new man since the Olympics, and I'm happy for him. Like that shift, everybody talks about the goal, but he held off Connor McDavid from scoring, getting a good chance, and he knocked the puck away from Cale Makar, which led to the goal. Like, he had one of the greatest shifts in hockey history. That will go down as one of the best shifts we've ever seen. And I really like Jack, so I'm really happy for him. I think it has taken him to a new level. I think he's always been a confident guy, but I think this has taken him to a new stratosphere. I'm surprised at where New Jersey is. That's another team that simply has not gotten good enough goaltending. They had a lot of injuries this year, but they got off to a great start. Hughes cut his wrist at a team party. I think it was in December. That's when their season really nosedived. I think they're going to have to get a little bigger. They're going to have to become a little more physical. I think that was one of the issues. But this is just another team. You don't get saves. You don't win enough games.
On your podcast earlier this week, and we've had a couple here in Nashville and some Nashville games that had us wondering. And it's hard to explain why this has happened. Elliotte, to me, for the goaltender interference issue you've discussed on your podcast a lot, I feel like there was quite a bit of common ground for maybe even a couple of years there where I thought, okay, it's never going to be perfect, but I think we have a general idea of not being surprised as much as we were in the first couple of years where they're still trying to work it out. But what do you think has happened here recently to have so many people throwing their hands up again?
There's just been a lot of plays that kind of look the same that have been adjudicated differently.
Yes.
And I'm trying to get a handle on it. Like,
has anybody responded to your plea on the podcast?
They have. We're working on it. Like, I'm working on it. And I'm hopeful. Like, the thing I try to say to people, Willie, is that I'm the guy who's got to go on TV and explain all this stuff. And, I just want to be able to do a good job. Like, I just want to be able to explain it, whether it's on the podcast, which you listen to, or on the shows that we do. I want to be able to explain what's the difference. And there were two calls in particular. One was in a Pittsburgh-Winnipeg game. The other was in a Columbus Islanders game. And they just looked really similar. And the one thing I will always concede is that the people who make these calls, whether on the ice or in the situation of them, they watch more hockey than I do. They know more than I do. I freely admit it. And I just, I just think you have to explain so we all know the answers. Like in the playoffs, we want, you want teams to make good decisions on whether or not to challenge. And you want to have a good broadcast where you can say to people, this is why this decision was made. And I'm making some headway here, and I hope to report on it. But, look, it was just confusing. And you just want to be able to say to people, hey, this is the reason why this was called that way.
We had a good question earlier on our show about would there ever be consideration for a 3-2-1 point system? I'm sure you've had this many times over the years. But, for example, the LA Kings, everybody here is watching closely. And one thing you notice about them is it seems like every single game they play goes to overtime.
Yeah, I think they have there's all this worst regulation wins in the league, right?
Isn't it? It's crazy. But there's a reward for going to overtime, and there has been for 20, 25 years, however long it's been now. But do you think they would ever consider the 3-2-1?
I don't think so. I don't, and I'll tell you why I don't. I think they feel like they have great playoff races this year, right? And I think they're worried that if they tinker with it, the playoff races might not be as good. So that's the reason. I think they like this the way it is. It keeps everybody tight. And look, like, that's why I think they should have expanded playoffs, Willie. I'll never win that. Bettman hates it, and he just will never change his mind, no matter how much you argue with him about it. And I think the same thing goes for the points setup. It keeps everybody close, and that's what he wants.
Elliotte, I believe you are an awards voter. I have
Yes.
the honor of also voting for many of the NHL awards. I can't recall a time where the Norris Trophy candidates, like, the list is just enormous, from Evan Bouchard to Zach Werenski, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, Rasmus Dahlin, Erik Karlsson has turned back the clock, Matthew Schaefer.
Yep.
There are so many deserving defensemen. I'm just wondering how you've been able to try to whittle this down, because even before the ballots have come out, I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, it's this one's a really tough one this year. Like, every year there's one that's really hard. And this year it's the Norris. Like, I didn't hear you mention Moritz Seider.
No, he's another one.
Yeah. Jake Sanderson, although the injury probably cost him a chance. There's a lot of great choices this year. And there's a lot of guys that could go first. Like, normally you have a guy who's like, he's probably first, and then I'll figure out the rest of my ballot. There's 4 guys who could win it this year. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Dahlin could win it. Werenski could win it. Hughes could win it. There's a lot of guys. I mean, Seider's a tough one, because if they don't make the playoffs, like, there's only 2 guys in NHL history who ever won the Norris not making the playoffs. And those were in years where they had really great season compared to everyone else. I don't think you can do that here this year. It's a nightmare. There's one every year that's like, to me, I think Kucherov is my heart guy. I think Schaefer is my rookie, but this defenseman, I'm with you, Adam. It's a nightmare.
Sportsnet NHL insider Elliotte Friedman has been our guest on D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick. He joins us every Thursday during hockey season, and he is presented by Old National Bank. Get old. Elliotte, great stuff as always. Thank you for joining us. We'll catch up next week.
All right, guys, take care.
615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction to what Elliotte had to say. We are expected to be joined by Vanderbilt Athletic Director Candice Storey in the next segment. Looking forward to that conversation. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. We will soon be joined by Vanderbilt AD Candice Storey Lee. I am being extra careful so as not to call her Candy on accident, as I did when mentioning her earlier.
Yeah.
I am being
the thing about
very
live
careful.
radio.
Yes.
You are going to stumble a few times, as I have before. I forgot what I did in the fall. I don't want to remember because it'll go back into my head and I'll do it again. But I did something that your son found very amusing.
Now I can't remember what it was.
Good. Purge it from your mind.
You don't need to know. You don't need to do it. So
I'm going to really think hard about this.
now you're going to be thinking about it.
I'm surprised I can't remember it. I'll have to go through the archives, dig through the archives of D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick. The Predators, as we await Candice Storey Lee. The Predators back in action tonight. Doors are about to open here at Bridgestone Arena. The New Jersey Devils in town. The Predators have won 5 in a row, looking for number 6 in a row as they look to strengthen their hold on a playoff spot. Willie, for fans coming tonight, because the Devils haven't been here this season, they only visit once a year, other than Jack Hughes, who scored the golden goal for Team USA at the Olympics. What should fans be watching for tonight in this matchup, specifically on the other side?
So definitely Hughes is the guy to focus on. He's scored, I think, 2 points a game in the last 6 games or so. He is on a high-end run right now. I think they've just got a lot of guys. Cody Glass is coming back to town. People may not realize he's now playing for the Devils. He's got 15 goals on the year. So he's had a nice season, Cody Glass has. One of the nicer guys, really popular among the fans. They've got some other players, Timo Meyer, Nico Hischier. Hischier got the game-winning goal in overtime. These two teams met in New Jersey in January, where Nashville was starting to get some traction, get going. Justus Annunen played in that game. The Devils tied it late and won in overtime. And Annunen will get the start again tonight, it appears. And so we'll see if he can continue his really good run that he's been on, especially when playing in front of Smashville here. But the Devils have been playing well. They've won 8 out of the last 11. They've scored 6 goals, Adam, in 4 of the last 8 games they've played. So they've been playing a lot of high-end scoring games. They've been giving up some goals, but they have been scoring in bunches. So it'll be a challenge.
I just remembered what you said.
Oh, boy.
He had been thinking about that the whole time you were talking.
I was listening.
I could see the wheels turning.
I was listening, but then it
hit you.
It just popped into my head. I remember precisely what you said. I can't repeat it. You had to be there.
Yes.
You had
it
to
wouldn't
be
sound
there.
as funny now.
No, it would not. But you mentioned this. We talked about this earlier. Annunen getting the start tonight. And I do think that this is good for UC Saros. Annunen has been playing well. If the Predators make the playoffs, Saros will be the starter. No question about it. So to allow Saros, who has started the second most games in the NHL, plus 6 games at the Olympics, so a lot of hockey for UC Saros this season, to allow him to maybe get a breather when he wouldn't normally get one could bear fruit for the Predators if they have Saros at his best if they make the playoffs.
I think Justus Annunen, to get to this point where he's played enough good games consistently to become an option like the way he has is a tribute to him.
Yeah.
I think that is really a sign of his progress, the confidence that they have in him, the work he's done behind the scenes. He's only 26. He's got that size that you're looking for. He's always been close to being really good, but I think they all feel like he's made another move forward in his development. So he's earned the chance to start games like this. And like you said, the other part is they now, I think, feel a lot better about giving UC Saros that extra day with all of the games they've got down the stretch here.
Philip Forsberg has been scoring in bunches. Matthew Wood has been a great story transitioning to center. He and Forsberg and Jonathan Marchessault have developed chemistry quickly, been scoring a lot of goals together. That is a positive development. I'll try to be positive, okay? I'll try to be positive. I will try very, very hard.
It shouldn't be hard, man. Look at what they're doing.
I know.
It shouldn't be that hard.
I'm being tongue-in-cheek.
I know.
I'm being tongue-in-cheek. I'm sort of committing to the bit now.
Uh-huh.
I just think that Predators fans think that I'm the big bad here. I'm the final boss, so to speak, for enjoyment, for happiness of the Predators. But as I've said multiple times, I enjoy the story. It doesn't remove my concerns about the future. You heard Elliotte Friedman. For as well as the Predators have been playing, the birth certificates do not change. The team's top players are long in the tooth, so to speak. Which is weird to say about players who are my age.
Yeah, they're long when it comes to professional sports. But I think the key in all of this is how much better can these young guys get? Wow, within the next season or two.
Yes,
I think that's going to be the big story.
Yes, it will be. And the fact that the Predators have had multiple young players in the lineup over the past 2-3 weeks. Wood, Zachary LaRue, Ryan Ufko, and so on. That's good. That's good. You want to see these players play well down the stretch. It doesn't mean that they will turn into franchise players or key depth players, but it doesn't hurt to see them in action when there is something at stake. So we will see how the Predators do tonight against the New Jersey Devils. Pregame with Max Hers at the top of the hour. Derek, I do want to get your thoughts on the Sweet 16. Your Spartans don't play until tomorrow.
Yes.
But there are 4 good games tonight. We know you love the multi-view, the quad box. Look at that TV right there. That's Derek Mason written all over him right there. You'll probably have, well, you won't need to because there'll only be 2 games going on.
So I do the.
Which game do you have your eye on the most tonight in the Sweet 16?
Oh, man, I'm just pulling them up now. Outside of my
well, Spartans play tomorrow.
Yeah.
So tonight, you've got 4 games tonight. Texas versus Purdue, Iowa versus Nebraska, Arkansas versus Arizona, Illinois versus Houston.
To me, Arkansas and Arizona. Arizona is the, overall number 1 seed. And they seem throughout the whole season to be the best team. They haven't taken, too many back seats to any collegiate team out there. They lost 2 games, but this has been the consensus number 1. But if you look at Arkansas, and their point guard is going to be a lottery pick, meaning Arizona's. But if you look at Arkansas, and I think we mentioned this off air yesterday, or we might have talked about it a little bit. If you just look at Arkansas man for man, they may have the best team in the country. If you just talk about talent of those guys, and arguably, if not the best player, a top 3 player in Acuff Jr.
Yes.
It's just which Arkansas team is going to show up to me, because if you're talking about going basket for basket, I think they could do that, at least with their starting 5. And they do go deep in their bench. But will you get that consistently? Arkansas is known to have known to go into these lulls, shooting from the outside, taking quick shots, not playing the type of ball that maybe they had played in the first quarter or 5 minutes prior. It's like they get into these situations where it's like, man, y'all look like a bunch of guys that really don't know how to play together. But that's always sort of been the knock on Coach Cal. You have these great teams, but you can never get them over the hump. So that's going to be one, because I think if Arkansas gets out of that, I'm not sure moving forward. And even for my Spartans, when you're talking about man for man, I'm not sure how many teams could beat Arkansas if indeed they do beat Arizona.
Let's go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and welcome in Vanderbilt Athletic Director Candice Storey Lee. Candice, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. So the Vanderbilt women's basketball team in the Sweet 16 for the first time in roughly 15 years. They take on Notre Dame tomorrow. The men had, I think, the best game of the tournament. It did not end up the way that you had hoped. But what do you make of the state of your basketball program specifically at the moment?
It's so exciting. I mean, I think it's human nature to look at the last game on the men's side and just experience that heartache time and time again. But, sports give it and sports take it away sometimes. And that's just part of it. But it does not change that we had an awesome year. And, the point is to be relevant in March. And our women's team has been relevant all year, and they are in March, and we're still playing. So I couldn't be more thrilled.
What has it been like for you, Candice? You mentioned the women's basketball team. Michaela Blakes is a superstar. In football, you had a Heisman Trophy finalist in Diego Pavia, one of the most talked about football players in the game this season. What has it been like for you to have two players that just gravitate people toward them in your program?
I think that they are beautiful demonstrations of Vanderbilt kids, right? Like there are superstars all over that campus, and Vanderbilt attracts special people. So, they happen to be elite at their craft. They're wonderful people that create community. And honestly, that's kind of how it is all over the place. So I love that they get to represent, I think, all 400 of our kids. Now, they are special now, don't get me wrong, but I do think that we attract those kinds of young people.
There was a report, Candice, that came out during our program from CBS Sports that Vanderbilt is endeavoring to sign Mark Byington to a long-term contract extension. I'm not sure if you can comment on that, but how gratifying is it for you? You've made big hires in Clark Lee and Mark Byington and Shea Ralph to already have, I would assume, other programs looking to poach your coaches. How gratifying is that for you, considering the hires that you made?
Well, I love our leaders, and I think that there are other smart people out there, so they are paying attention to what we're doing, and they should be. I'd also hope and believe that all of our leaders love what they get the opportunity to build at Vanderbilt. And, my job and our job is to ensure that they have the resources that they need to execute on the vision. I don't want anybody leaving here because they cannot do what they've set out to do at Vanderbilt. So I really love our group of coaches, and I'm very excited for the future.
We're talking with Candice Storey Lee, AD for the Vanderbilt Commodores, and you left out Tyler Tanner. How can we leave out Tyler Tanner?
I apologize. I did leave out Tyler Tanner.
I mean, you did. I wasn't going to say anything, but in my spirit,
you're right. When you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
Tyler Tanner, fabulous season.
When you first took this job, Candice, I'm sure there were goals that you wanted to achieve within this program. Now that you're in it, you've seen some of the success from it. How many of those goals have been attained, and are there still more to go?
I think it's always a moving target. So, our chancellor always talks about being proud of what we're doing, but never satisfied. And I think that while we've done a good job of recognizing the progress and celebrating it, because we really have a lot to celebrate, I don't want to sit here and say we've arrived. I do think we are creating more and more conditions for success. And that's my job. Like, we're going to put the conditions in place that you hope will beget success. But I love the direction, but we're not done yet. I think there's so much more out there for us. And we're going to do it with great spirit and joy, with incredible people. And honestly, no matter who you are, it's hard not to cheer for Vanderbilt. I was in the airport this morning, and a guy with a very big orange T on his shirt came up to me, introduced himself, and he goes, listen, he sort of stated the obvious, like, I'm a Vol fan. However, what y'all are doing is incredible. And I think it's hard not to respect it. Like, we have good people who are doing good things. And I think I'm excited.
Yeah, I think when you do it the right way, Candice, as you and that staff and that university has been doing, people will recognize it. Even your arch enemy or your rival, they do recognize.
That's right. That's right.
They do recognize it. Now, we've had Shea Ralph on. Obviously, we've had other coaches on. And players, Michaela Blakes, we've had her on, and we've always talked about the synergy. Clark Lee's been on, Byington. We've always talked about the synergy, and I've always asked them that question. And I just want to ask you that same question. How is the synergy between all of those programs?
It's incredible. You know, we talk a lot about alignment, and I think typically when we're talking about alignment, we talk about like the alignment with our board of trust and our chancellor and myself, but there's also incredible alignment between our head coaches and their programs. And, you know, there is this halo effect where success starts to rub off on people. They're so, you know, I think our head coaches are just like Vanderbilt kids, where there is great competitiveness, but that competitiveness is not with one another in an unhealthy way. Like we want to be the best, but we're cheering for you too. And when we know that when you're good, we're all good. Like that's how they operate. They are just like running over each other trying to congratulate people when something incredible happens, because they genuinely support each other. They share recruiting ideas. They ask each other to meet recruits. They talk to each other about problems. We try to create an environment where they can pick each other's brains. My hope, right, the goal is to have the best group of coaches in the country. I believe we have that. And so why wouldn't you want to rely on one another? And the student athletes follow suit. So the synergy is incredible.
We're talking with Candice Storey, Lee, AD for the Vanderbilt Commodores. Now, Candice, as you know, the landscape of sports has changed drastically, and I'm talking about each year's change, but it's changed drastically from even 5 or 10 years ago. But how has that job changed for you, knowing now that the advent of NIL and kids being able to transfer seems like whenever they want to? How has it changed it for you being an AD?
You know, it's actually the only world I know. So I will have been in the position for 6 years in May, and the only thing that's different is we thank the Lord don't have a global pandemic going on, because other than that, it's been this way since I took the job. And so I think there is, you absolutely have to adapt. I think realize that the ability to collaborate with people who are just incredible at what they do on our campus and across our league, I mean, that has helped me. But honestly, all I know is change. So my goal is for us to always find a way. You know, we're not going to sit around and lament the world is different. And if I sit around and I get too preoccupied with the good old days, you know, in the good old days, we had not invested at the level that we want across the board. So the good old days don't matter to me. These are the good days. These are the good days. And so I mean, it's a challenge. It's not easy. I will never pretend that's the case. But you can do it here. And I think we're demonstrating that. And that's enough to be excited. And honestly, so it's not easy, but we're here for the challenge, and not just for right now. Like, we're here to stay. That's so, so important to me. And it's harder to sustain it in a world that is so volatile.
Vanderbilt AD.
You know, but we can do it.
Vanderbilt AD,
Candice
Storey Lee has been our guest on D-Mace, Vin Ginandonic. Candice, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Good luck, and we look to catch up soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Y'all take care. Anchor down.
615-737-1025. Didn't mean to step on our toes there at the end. We will wrap up the show. Coming up next, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
This is Derek Mason. If you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. But Law Tigers fights to get you the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. They understand how much your bike gear is worth to you, so they will help you get it all repaired, or better yet, replaced. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Street South. And don't forget, go to predatorsbike.com to enter to win the custom Nashville Predator Indian motorcycle signed by the entire team, courtesy of Law Tigers in Music City, Indiana. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D. Mays, Vingan and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Predators pregame with Max Hers coming up at the top of the hour. Predators versus Devils. Puck drop at 7. The Predators going for their 6th win in a row as they look to maintain their hold on the final playoff spot in the Western Conference. The Devils are hot, however, no pun intended. They have won 7 of 10. Although they are out of the playoff race. So don't look at the standings and take the Devils lightly, because the Devils have been playing some of their best hockey here down the stretch. We appreciate Candice Storey Lee for joining the program. The Vanderbilt women resume their tournament tomorrow afternoon, a 1:30 p.m. tip-off against 6th-seeded Notre Dame. And if Vanderbilt is fortunate enough to advance, there's a potential matchup on the horizon with UConn in the Elite Eight. Now, that would be a sight to see. Shea Ralph versus Gino Auriemma. Michaela Blakes versus all of that.
Yes.
Because UConn is a juggernaut, as we were...
they almost made one coach cry. That's what I mean.
as you might have seen,
yes.
Syracuse's coach, after Syracuse lost 98-45. 98-45. Last week, or earlier this week, I should say, in the second round of the tournament, Syracuse's coach said, I've been put up against UConn too many times. Please stop scheduling us in the same bracket as UConn. So that would be a sight to behold. Michaela Blakes and Vanderbilt going up against UConn for a trip to the Final Four. That would be awesome. That would be awesome to see. So we'll see if Vanderbilt can pull it off tomorrow afternoon, a 1:30 p.m. Central tip-off against Notre Dame with a trip to the Elite Eight on the line. That game, by the way, being played in Fort Worth, Texas. The men's tournament resumes tonight with Sweet 16 action. 4 games, the first one starting in roughly 15 minutes. Texas versus Purdue, Iowa versus Nebraska, Arkansas versus Arizona, and Illinois versus Houston tonight. The Sweet 16 continues tomorrow as well.
I mean, this Vanderbilt team, and listen, I know they're in the same bracket as UConn, and UConn is like the boogeyman.
Yes.
But what this team has done, led by Michaela Blakes, Aubrey Galvin, has been awesome this season. Their forwards have been awesome this season. Passat, is it Passat?
Justine Passat.
Yeah, Justine Passat, the other guard. They've all been terrific. And what this team has done has been wonderful. I would love to see them in a national championship game. I would have loved to see the men's in a national championship game. And they still can get there. But obviously, it starts tonight with Notre Dame. And if they are, if they're able to get past Notre Dame, then that next one it may be the hardest game for them to date. So I'm looking forward to the matchup tonight, and I'm hoping they win. And then I'm really looking forward to the matchup against UConn and Gino.
That'll do it for us today. Predators versus Devils coming up at 7 o'clock. Can the Predators win 6 in a row? We will all find out together. Max Hers will have pregame coverage for you coming up here in just a matter of moments. Max, high maintenance Hers. When I got here, there was a note on Max's headset that said, there's that quote, "Don't even think about it, Vingan."
Don't even think about what?
Wearing his headset.
You should have put him on just because.
I should have, but I respect Max. I don't want to upset him. We will talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. You know what time it is. You hear that music. Don't you forget about us, because we will not forget about you. Thanks again to my faithful co-hosts who held it down for me while I was out for the first couple of hours, but they held it down and did a wonderful job, so I thank them. And thank you again for listening. We will see you, and you will hear us tomorrow, 3 p.m. on 102.5 The Game. Peace.
until Preds hockey.
It goes across, right side Marchessault shoots and scores!
This is Smashville Tonight.
Just held Forsberg, he turns it first and scores! Philip Forsberg, got one!
We'll get you set up for tonight's game with exclusive interviews and insights on tonight's matchup.
Forsberg to Matt Wood, right circle, dangles in front, and Stamkos scores!
Smashville lives here.
In front, stopped by Saros.
On 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Predators are on the ice in Smashville, looking to extend their season-long winning streak from 5 wins in a row to 6, all while keeping hold of the final playoff spot in the Western Conference as they host the New Jersey Devils tonight at Bridgestone Arena. Hey, Preds fans. My name is Max Hers. We are in the Jack Daniels Barrel House behind Section 112 here at Bridgestone Arena. We'll be here all night long before, during, and after tonight's Preds game. We will have a player guest joining us in the post-game show for an interview and autographs for the kids. So come by and join us all night long at the best bar in the arena, the Jack Daniels Barrel House behind Section 112 on the main concourse. And it's an open secret, but Barrel House is the only bar in the arena that keeps serving after the third period began. So come by, see the best bartenders in the NHL. They're busy right now, so I don't think they can hear me. But McKalen, Susan, McKalen can hear me, and Derek Selke, the best defensive forward in Barrel House, are all in the building. And if they're listening in the equipment room, Derek wants one of the gold NSH Fanatics hats. But I told him that they're not going to give him one, so you guys don't have to give him one if you don't want to. All right, Preds and Devils tonight. My name is Max Hers. Puck drop in 1 hour just after 7 o'clock. Let's get you started with today's Smashville headlines.
It's time for tonight's top stories. This is Smashville Headlines, brought to you by Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports on Smashville Tonight. Smashville lives here on 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
5 wins in a row for your Nashville Predators with 11 games left in the regular season. The Preds are the second wildcard team in the Western Conference. They have 77 points, a 3-point lead over the LA Kings, who are in 9th place. And we here at Preds Radio give you permission to start looking up at the Utah Mammoth, who are the first wildcard. They are 3 points ahead of the Preds. The Preds have 1 game at hand on Utah, which is good. And they have a head-to-head game against the Mammoth remaining in Salt Lake City. So the Preds control their own destiny, not just to make the playoffs, but to be the first wild card as well. We're not expecting them to win every game the rest of the year. That would be 16 wins in a row to finish up the season, which would be good. But hey, they've been good in this 5-game winning streak. Let's take a look back at these 5 consecutive wins over the last couple of weeks here on the road and in Smashville. Starting at the end of the long Canadian road trip last Tuesday in Winnipeg, the Predators got Connor Hellebuck and the Jets to a shootout, and Ryan O'Reilly scored the only goal of the skills competition. Ryan O'Reilly, the Predators' usual first shooter, swings wide right, cuts to the middle, stops, shoots, and scores!